everyone. My name is Jade and I have been crocheting for over 11 years. Basically, I'm pretty sure my mom and the internet taught me, although I honestly don't really remember learning. But I have been dying to make a YouTube series on how to learn crochet for complete beginners. This is part 1 in like a 16-part series, and I'm going to be showing you how to make this bag. I do want to mention that the bag is supposed to be one color. It's called a dye lot. So they'll make a batch of blue. This is the color denim. And this is old. I bought this like a year ago. When they make a new batch, it can look completely different. This is also the color denim. That's honestly something to keep in mind. Like if you think you might need more of a color, or if you're making a project where you want the colors to be the same, buy the yarn all at the same time from the same dye lot, and it should say on the label. But anyway, this project is supposed to be one color. Of course, you could make it 2 colors if you want. That's totally cool. The bag is made up of 14 squares, 2 straps, and then you join it all together and you have a lovely little bag. Each video is going to show you how to make a square. Each square is going to be a different stitch. We're going to learn the 4 core stitches, which are single crochet, half double crochet, treble crochet. Using those 4 stitches, you make different patterns. So there's the moss stitch, the waffle stitch, the granny square, the puff stitch, the bobble stitch, the wave stitch, just to name a few. And each video will come out every 2 days. So that gives you enough time to watch the video, practice your square, and hopefully it also doesn't leave too much space in between for people that are really excited to make the bag. I made a little charm. I'll post a picture because I don't have it with me right now. That's also going to teach us a few things that we couldn't really learn in the squares. I also will probably show you how to line it with fabric as well. This is a beginner series, so I'm going to go very slow. I intend to record the entire square without any skipping. We can crochet together the whole bag. It's a pretty cool project, I think. I feel like the 2 main things people struggle with is what yarn to buy and what hook to buy. For me specifically, for crochet, I use acrylic yarn. I don't crochet a lot of wearables where you might want, I don't know, wool or other natural fibers. I pretty much use acrylic. And so that's what I'm going to recommend that you start with, because it's quite soft and easy to work with most of the time. Although you're welcome to choose any type of yarn that you want. So there's that. I'm going to be using acrylic. There are sizes of yarn. Sizes go 0 through 7. 0 is very, very tiny, and 1 is also very tiny. It gets progressively thicker all the way up until 7. There honestly might be bigger sizes than that, but most commonly 6 and 7 is what you'll find in like a normal yarn store. So the yarn has a size, and usually on the label of the yarn, it will tell you what size hook you should use. Hooks are in millimeters, and it's how big the end of your hook is. This is 10 millimeters, while this is 2.75 millimeters, and you can see the difference. So if you can imagine, I would not want to crochet with a yarn that's this big with this hook. That would just be really weird. I don't know why you would do that. You would want to use a bigger hook. Suppose there are times, like if I wanted to use a thin yarn with a giant hook, that's just going to leave me with a lot of spaces in my yarn. Where if I use a small hook with small yarn, it's going to be a tighter weave. So that's something to think about. The recommended hook is going to give you the best stitches for that size yarn. For this project, we're going to be using a 5mm hook, and size 4 yarn. Size 4 yarn is also called worsted weight, and it's in the middle. Not too big, not too small. It's pretty easy to work with. And the 5mm hook is also a pretty common hook used for a lot of projects. Now we just have to choose our size 4 yarn and our size hook. Where do you buy this stuff? Let's say you don't have a store. Amazon definitely has hooks. Amazon definitely has yarn. So just go ahead and you can shop on there. That's just fine. Let's say we go to a store. Some stores are Walmart, Joann Fabrics, Michaels, a local yarn store. The brand that I use frequently, I use Red Heart Big Twist yarn, which can be found at Joann's. Karen yarn. Those are my top 3 brands. In Michaels, there is a brand of yarn that is also good. I would have to put a picture because I can't think of the name of it. So you could search those things up on Amazon, but you're looking for size 4 acrylic. If you cannot go to a store, I highly recommend that you can find a craft store so that you can touch the yarn, so that you can feel the size 1 yarn versus the size 6 yarn. I think that's important. Go in your store, walk around, see if you can find a size 0 or a size 1 yarn. See if you can find size 2, size 3, size 4 yarns. Flip over the yarn label, read it. It should say recommended hook, which sometimes is 5, sometimes is 5.5 for size 4. A lot of thicker yarns will also be fluffy. That fluffy stuff is so hard to work with because you can't see the stitches, and I always end up just kind of guessing where the hole is. So I don't recommend you use anything fluffy. I don't recommend this sugar and cream stuff. It splits really easily. So if you stick your hook and you accidentally don't grab all of the yarn while you're crocheting, you can splice it and it just kind of gets messy. I also want you to feel, is the yarn, does it feel like it's going to split into a bunch of little pieces easily, or is it wound up pretty tightly, if that makes sense. In regards to the splitting, there's also something called t-shirt yarn, and Big Twist actually makes this type of yarn, but Woobles uses this yarn. And if you can find some of that, it's not made of individual threads weaved together into one. So that's why it's so easy to crochet with, because you can't splice the yarn. So you can get that if you're really worried about the yarn, but a normal yarn will do. Pick a color. It's probably not Lily's Sugar and Cream. It's kind of hard to work with for beginners. It's kind of sticky on the hook, and nothing fluffy. Also, if you want to be really careful, choose a lighter yarn over, say, black or dark navy, because you'll be able to see your stitches much easier. So those are my recommendations for yarn. You're gonna want just one skein, but if you choose, sometimes they have skeins that are small. Make sure you have 350 to 400 yards of yarn. I might end up editing that. I would check the description. So get one ball of yarn should be enough. You only need one color. If you want to do 2 colors, you definitely can, but I'm just going to be making actually one color for the bag that we do in the video. So you've chosen your yarn. For hooks and hook brands, there are kits on Amazon that are really cheap that give you all the sizes of hooks. I can't comment on how nice they feel. The one thing I would say to look out for is if the hook is smooth. I don't know if I have a hook that's sharp, but I know I took a video of one. I hate to say it, but I would stay away from Susan Bates hooks because they are so rough and they're so sharp around the edges, and the point of the hook is so pointy that it makes it really easy to splice your yarn. I would just watch out for a sharp edge. Anything that has like a very smooth looking hook part should be good. You can get ones that are just completely straight, or you can get ones that have a handle. The handle's really nice. You don't need a handle, especially if you're just getting started. You don't even need a kit. You just need one hook, 5mm. If by chance 5mm is not in stock at your store, you could get 4.5, 4.75, or you could get 5.5, 5.25. Whatever is closest to that 5mm will also work. All of those hooks work well with size 4 yarn, but if you can, get a 5mm hook. This one's from the Dollar Tree. It's pretty smooth and it has a handle. If you have the money, I recommend you buy the Clover Amour hooks. These hooks I absolutely love. I have the pack that you can buy, which is a much better deal than buying one hook at a time. They're my favorite hooks. The yarn slides off of them really easily, and they feel really nice. You can buy singles of those. I think it would be worth it. It is kind of expensive at $10 a hook, or you can get a pack on Amazon and see how that goes. It's truly up to you. The big thing is just make sure it's not sharp. Two other things that you don't necessarily need, because there are alternatives, are stitch markers. You don't need a lot of these. You really only need 2, and they look like this. They have a little clasp so that when you hook it around your stitch, it stays intact. You can use paper clips, bobby pins, carabiners, hoop earrings as stitch markers. You can even use a little piece of yarn as a stitch marker. So if you're trying to buy as little as possible and you have any of those things, then you don't need to buy stitch markers. Sometimes hook kits come with stitch markers. This I would get over stitch markers are a tapestry needle. You need to make sure it has a pretty big eye so that you can get your yarn through. You can get these metal ones, which are my favorite, or you can also get a pack of plastic ones for various sizes of yarn. Either works. If you don't want to buy a needle, you can use a bobby pin for the same purpose. Is it going to be quite as nice? No. But it would work if you don't want to buy something else. The two things you definitely need: one 5mm hook, or the closest size you can find. Not Susan Bates with the sharp pointy corners. You need a ball of yarn, size 4, not fluffy, probably not Sugar and Cream, Lily's brand. Something that's not gonna split easily, preferably a lighter color. And you also need at least, let's say at least 400 yards. Optional things. You're gonna need some sort of stitch marker. So either get a couple of these stitch markers, find some bobby pins, or a carabiner, a hoop, a paper clip. Anything like that will work as a stitch marker. And the last thing you're going to need is a tapestry needle, or you can use a bobby pin. That's all you're going to need for this project, and you'll be able to make this bag. That's pretty much it. And I hope I covered everything that you maybe had questions about or needed. The next part of the video is already posted. We are going to get started learning our first stitch, the single crochet, and making our first square of the bag. So go out, get your yarn, get your hook, get your stitch marker and your needle, and go check out the first video, and I'll see you over there. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments, or if you think I missed anything. I will gladly answer down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in part 1 of the series.